think freedom still matters in this country, and to all of you who don't as well. My name's Jeff Einstein, coming to you directly today from sunny Delray Beach, Florida, and yes, without a doubt, I'm easily amused. You know, I look back on my 4-year high school career as the best 8 days of my life. But all good things come to an end, and when they graduated me in the spring of 1970, rather than subject myself to the horrors of Vietnam, or, God forbid, a higher education, I hopped a plane and flew to Israel. I wound up on a small kibbutz located at the intersection of what used to be the Israeli, Syrian, and Jordanian borders. Of course, the irony of escaping Vietnam only to wind up on the Israeli border didn't escape me entirely, especially when the Yom Kippur War broke out in October 1973. In any case, nothing that $100,000 and 10 years of intensive psychotherapy couldn't figure out later on. So about 6 or 7 months after the war, I get called in to speak with a recruitment officer for the Israel Defense Forces. I've been in the country for almost 4 years, and the Israelis wanted me to make a decision. Do I stay or do I go? If I stay, I gotta join the army. So I wind up sitting across from a young lieutenant, and I say to him, listen, you don't want to recruit me. I've got shitty knees. I could see the light bulb go off in his head. He leans across the desk and he says to me, in that case, we'll give you a pair of shitty boots. No sense wasting good boots on a guy with shitty knees. Naturally, I do the adult thing and catch the next flight out to Frankfurt. That's right, chased out of 2 different countries by 2 different armies. Apparently, I just don't look good in khaki. Maybe some of you saw Thomas Friedman's April 3rd article in the New York Times, Ukraine is the first real world war. In it, Mr. Friedman asserts that because half the world can now follow the war on smartphones 24/7, and because of the global impact of Western sanctions against Russia, things like food and gas shortages, the war in Ukraine is truly the first world war. Well, it's not. It's not the first real world war because it's not a world war at all, not even close. For now, the Ukraine war is confined to a pretty small piece of land and only 2 combatants. Besides, since when do we confer World War status based on the size of the audience tuned in or otherwise affected by everything associated with the war except the actual violence? Maybe about the same time we started defining free speech as violence. Maybe about the same time we started calling mothers birthing people and biological men women. Hyperbolic assaults on language and meaning in the 21st century, where every departure from the corporate media narrative du jour is immediately attacked as racist or Nazi or transphobic or Russian, are the verbal shock troops of the forces aligned with the banality of evil, those who would abandon and destroy critical thought for the tyrannies of critical theory. Playing so fast and loose with the language for political and financial gain turned us all into PTSD survivors of Will and Jada Pinkett Smith's marital drama. Probably more accurate to suggest that the only real world war going on right now is the hybrid Huxwellian war against language, common sense, truth, and sobriety, part of a broader class war being waged by a global oligarchy against poor and middle class people of all colors worldwide. Mostly affluent, mostly white, and mostly woke, the useful idiot proxies in academia, government agencies, international agencies, technomedia, and other global corporations will never let a good crisis, like COVID for instance, go to waste, and will never miss an opportunity, again like COVID, to rob us all blind in the process. Contrary to what everyone in the government and their proxies in corporate technomedia tell us over and over ad nauseum, the geopolitics of the war in Ukraine do not resolve in a war of democracy versus autocracy. The war in Ukraine resolves as a global class war of oligarchs versus populism. As such, it's being used to shut down dissent not only in this country, but in other Western democracies as well, just like COVID. If you're a populist, now is the time to reach across the aisle to the populists on the other side. We have far more in common with each other than with the overeducated elites who are bleeding the world dry for personal gain. That's it for me, folks. Be sure to hit the blue subscribe button on my Jeff Einstein 2.0 Substack blog, and don't forget to share this video with at least 200 of your closest friends and family. Remember, skepticism is our first civil obligation in a free society. Thanks for tuning in, and God's love to you.